This is huge news out of the courts. President Trump's lawsuit against the New York Times just got absolutely demolished by a federal judge in Florida. We are talking about an enormous lawsuit demanding approximately $15 billion in damages, and the judge tossed the whole thing out immediately. Why? Because the lawsuit was basically a political speech masquerading as a legal document. The judge, U.S. District Judge Stephen Merriday, ruled that the complaint was ridiculously long, 85 pages to be exact. The judge said this monster filing violated the federal rules for civil procedure because it was packed with tedious and burdensome language. Think about that. 85 pages, and the judge said it was a mess. The judge was blunt, writing that a complaint is not a megaphone for public relations or a podium for a passionate oration at a political rally. He even said that lawyers should know that a complaint is not a protected platform to rage against an adversary. He called the rambling language vituperation and invective. That is some serious shade from the federal bench. The judge also pointed out exactly how ridiculous the length was. The lawsuit didn't even get to the first count of defamation until page 80. 79 pages detailing often repetitive and laudatory statements about President Trump before they even got to the actual claim. The lawsuit itself slammed the paper for allegedly maliciously peddling the fact-free narrative that a TV producer named Mark Burnett was the one who turned Trump into a celebrity on The Apprentice. Trump's legal team insisted that the paper knew he was already a mega-celebrity and an enormous success in business before those publications. The lawsuit named 4 reporters and targeted a book and several articles. The book focused on Trump's finances and his pre-presidency TV role. It also attacked claims about his early business dealings and his father, Fred. The NYT wasted no time responding, saying they welcomed the judge's quick ruling because it acknowledged the lawsuit was a political stunt, not a serious legal filing. The executive editor for the paper doubled down, saying Trump is flat out wrong on the facts and wrong on the law regarding defamation, promising to fight and win. Now, the legal team for President Trump has 28 days to file a revised complaint. But here is the major restriction. That new filing cannot be longer than 40 pages. His spokespeople have already said they're going to refile and continue their fight to hold the fake news accountable. This isn't the only time Trump has gone after major media companies. He sued ABC News and CBS News' 60 Minutes, settling those cases out of court. He even recently sued the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch, asking for a whopping $10 billion after the paper reported on his ties to Richie financier Jeffrey Epstein. ABC settled a defamation claim for approximately $15 million, and CBS parent company Paramount settled a suit for approximately $16 million. These are serious fights over control of the narrative. Speaking of legal drama, the Justice Department has been aggressively pursuing allegations against New York Attorney General Letitia James regarding alleged paperwork discrepancies on her Brooklyn townhouse and a Virginia home. The U.S. attorney whose office was investigating James was told he needed to resign or be fired. Officials in the Trump administration have been pushing for criminal charges against James, who is seen as an adversary of the president. In other hot topics impacting America, the fight over free speech is intensifying. Colleges across the country are facing intense pressure to police comments made about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Universities are trapped. They either defend their employees' speech rights and risk the kind of federal attention that has caused funding cuts at places like Harvard, where they bow to the pressure, risking what some scholars call a historic erosion of campus speech rights. One American university scholar called this a full-on constitutional crisis. Adding to the controversy, the FCC chairman publicly criticized ABC over comments made by Jimmy Kimmel regarding the death of Charlie Kirk, and ABC suspended the show. The FCC chairman even suggested that if ABC didn't take action on Kimmel, there would be additional work for the FCC ahead. This led to Senator Ted Cruz calling the threat against ABC's broadcasting license dangerous as hell, warning that a future Democratic administration would use that same power ruthlessly to silence conservatives. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is also putting heat on Harvard University, imposing greater oversight over its finances and threatening sanctions if it won't provide more data on admissions. The administration says universities must demonstrate they are not using race in the admissions process. Harvard has sued the White House over these demands. The Education Department has placed Harvard on heightened cash monitoring, forcing the school to pay for student financial aid with its own funds first, then seek reimbursement from the government. Shifting gears to global trade and national security, the future of TikTok's U.S. operations remains uncertain even after the president spoke with China's leader Xi Jinping. The president wants an American buyer for the social media company's U.S. operations for national security reasons. Trump posted on social media saying he appreciated the TikTok approval, but the Chinese government release suggested they would simply be happy to see productive commercial negotiations leading to a solution that complies with China's laws and market rules. The two leaders are set to meet in person on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea in late October, early November. The administration also made news regarding the military, with a U.S. strike killing 11 people on a Venezuelan boat which the administration claimed carried drugs for the Tren de Aragua gang. The Pentagon says it will always support and be ready to execute any mission at the president's direction. This came up in the context of the Pentagon confirming it would support the president's effort to return U.S. forces to Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan. However, a Taliban official immediately dismissed the idea of a military presence in Afghanistan, although he left the door open for further interaction. Back to domestic issues, Congress is dealing with the looming threat of a partial government shutdown on October 1. The House passed a short-term spending bill to fund agencies for 7 weeks, but the Senate looks unlikely to pass it. Republican leaders would need 60 votes in the Senate, and neither party is showing signs of budging. Democrats accuse Republicans of not negotiating with them on priorities like health care, while Republicans say Democrats are making demands that would dramatically increase spending. In economic news, the Treasury Department just proposed new rules detailing the occupations and qualifications for the president's No Tax on Tips law, which allows certain workers to deduct up to $25,000 in qualified tips from their federal income taxes each year through 2028. The rules specify that the tip must be voluntary, so mandatory tips don't count. The deduction starts phasing out for taxpayers with an income over $150,000. We also saw the administration putting pressure on health care guidance. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s vaccine advisors met to weigh recommendations for COVID-19 shots. The group is set to recommend delaying hepatitis B shots for newborns from the day of birth to 1 month old, a move that is highly criticized by infectious disease specialists. Finally, the president is making diplomatic moves. He's hosting Turkey's leader at the White House soon to discuss trade, F-16 fighter jets, and F-35 fighter jets. He also noted that he had always enjoyed a very good relationship with the leader. Also, the Kremlin described the president's recent comments, where he said Russian leader Putin let him down over the war in Ukraine, as emotional and intelligible. The Kremlin spokesperson stressed that Putin is still willing to end the war politically and diplomatically. But let's go back to that massive legal throwdown. The fact remains, an attempt at a huge $15 billion lawsuit was shut down because it read more like a political rant than a legal claim. Trump's lawyers have a tight deadline and a strict 40-page limit to prove they are serious about this case. We will be watching to see if they can clean up their act and get back on the docket. Make sure you stick around for all the latest updates on how these political and legal battles play out. Hit the like button if you want to stay informed on how this new chapter of legal battles unfolds. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next video, and ring that bell so you get notified every time we drop a new breakdown. Thanks for watching.